Good evening, everybody. Tonight's video is going to be on our next UFC event. It's a UFC Fight Night at the Apex card, and it is Josh Emmett versus Lerone Murphy Fight Night. This card was a little bit rougher on me. It's a really low end card. There's a bunch of fights that probably like two of the women's fights are two of the worst fighters in the organization now. So I'm going to be staying off of a bunch of the fights. I will have leans for a few and plays for a few others. I don't have a lot of plays that I feel great about this week, so I'm going to keep it a little bit lighter on my end. But let's get going on this. Now, the first fight of the night that I'm going to touch base on, but I don't have a play on it. I was going to, but then I kind of decided not to. But I do like it, and that is Vanessa Demopoulos versus Talatita Alencar, and I've got Vanessa Demopoulos on the money line at a minus 108. I think she's going to be the more dangerous wrestler off her back. Alencar will get some takedowns. That's probably a given. But she's not going to do a lot with them. And Vanessa is going to be more dangerous off her back. She could even end up getting an arm bar or some sort of submission off her back. So I like Vanessa to win this. You could even throw a sprinkle on second or third round submission if you want. But I really see it going all 3 rounds and Vanessa getting a decision victory. But it's going to be a stay away from me. And then that's the first fight. Next fight is going to be a fight that I'm going to be using as a parlay piece on an overprop. And that is Victor Henry versus Pedro Flacco. Henry's going to be a high output striker where Flacco is going to look to wrestle. Henry averages over 7 significant strikes per minute, which is pretty high. And Flacco averages just under 3 takedowns per fight. So this is going to be striker versus grappler 100%. I think Henry's going to be able to fight him off for the most part. As the fight gets deeper, Flacco might be able to get them because Henry is older. I believe he's 40 years old now. This one here on a money line, I don't really have a take. It would probably be dog or pass. But I've got this fight starting the 3rd round as a parlay piece. And I will pull those parlays up in a little bit. So I've got that. Then my next play is going to be a single, actually. And that is going to be Luis Gurriel over 2.5 rounds, minus 118. Luis Gurriel is going against Ode Osborne, and Ode Osborne is going to be the more experienced fighter in this match, but Gurriel is going to apply pressure, and he's going to have more power, and he's going to keep it standing, and as the fight goes on, he's going to take over. I also like Gurriel on the money line, and I'm using him in a money line parlay, which I will pull up a little bit also. And I also don't mind, well, since I'm playing the over 2.5, of course I don't mind it. I don't mind over 1.5 and Gurriel on the money line at a minus 115, but I'm gonna start this. I'm gonna start doing an over prop every week. It's something different. It's unique to me, and not a lot of people use over props as a single, but I tend to, and I've had very good success at doing them, so I'm going to start having a single over prop every week. Then my next play is actually going to be in the Pat Sabatini versus Joe Anderson Brito fight. I don't really have a take on who's going to win. Sabatini could get a submission. Brito could get a knockout. Brito's the more technical and has the better striking, and he's got a lot of power. And Sabatini is going to look to wrestle. So on this one here, I took it over a half a round, under 2.5 rounds on a same game parlay on DraftKings. You can build your own parlay on DraftKings, minus 105. If for some reason you don't have DraftKings, then I would use Fight Not to Go the Distance as a parlay piece, and then parlay it with something that you like. Unfortunately, I understand not everybody has DraftKings. So this is kind of a DraftKings only play, but I really do like that. And DraftKings actually had a 20% boost today on any same game parlay that had at least a minus 250 final ticket. And mine was only a 20% boost. So mine got boosted to a plus 114. Those are my singles for the week. And then I will pull up. Here is my number one parlay I'm playing. I'm playing the Henry Falco fight to start the third round. Then I'm playing Romeos versus Lee over 1.5 rounds. Now, to touch on that fight, Romeos is going to look to keep this fight standing, even though he can wrestle and grapple. Lee, Chang Ho Lee, who's come from the road to the UFC, which I automatically usually fade those fighters until they prove to me that they're any good, is going to look to grapple. But I think Romeos will be the better striker, the more dangerous striker, and I think he's going to keep it standing for the most part. And even when Lee does get a takedown or two, I see him getting back up. So I really like this fight to go over 1.5 rounds. So I'm using that as a parlay piece. Then I'm also parlaying the main event fight, Josh Emmett versus Laurel Murphy over 2.5 rounds. If you take all three of these pieces, it's a plus 114. I will also pull all these plays up so that they're all on a piece of paper at the end for you too, rather than scrolling. And on the Josh Emmett Laurel Murphy fight, I've got a huge lean on Murphy winning. They're both going to be good on the feet, but Murphy will be slightly better. Plus, he's going to be the better grappler. And with Josh Emmett being 40 years old and hasn't fought since 2023, I think as this fight gets deeper, I think Murphy's just going to piece him up and take over. Now, I will say Josh Emmett does have the knockout ability. So, but I'm going to be taking the over 2.5 rounds as a parlay piece. And I also like Laurel Murphy to get the win. That's going to be in another parlay that I'm going to be pulling up here in a second. That I placed this last parlay on FanDuel. And this is Torres Finney, Laurel Murphy, and Luis Gurriel plus 144. If you want to take Luis Gurriel out of there and just throw in like a Barbosa or a heavy favorite, it would still be like a minus 110. And I don't hate that either. As for the Torres Finney fight, I did not use that as a play because, or it's not an official play. I do have a long shot on that fight coming up, but I do like Therese Finney to get the win. I think he's going to ragdoll him, and Therese Finney is going to wrestle, and he could wrestle him for 3 rounds as long as his cardio keeps up, and I like him to get a ground and pound finish, actually. So on my next play, that's where my ground and pound finish comes in, because I've got Therese Finney plus 165 on a KO and Daniel Frunza KO plus 185. Both of these I'm doing half unit plays on them. And so if we get one of them right, we're up money. So those are my plays on those. Some of the fights that I did not touch base on in this video are the replacement fight. Martin Buddha is facing, I can't even pronounce his name, Sadi Baldiav. He's a short replacement fighter coming over from the LFA. Buddha is a heavyweight, and Sadi Baldiav is actually a light heavyweight. So, and I don't know anything about him. There's a possibility that the guy coming in is better. He could be more athletic. He could be faster. He could, just be a wrestler. I don't know a thing about him, because Buddha is only a minus 160 to win this fight. He was a plus 200 or something like that before the fight got canceled with the other fighter he was supposed to fight. This fight literally just got added last night, so I didn't have a chance to look at it at all. Then the next fight is Luke Boume versus Estela Nunes. Luke Boume is like a minus 700 favorite. I think she's going to end up taking her down. I think she's going to beat her up, probably get a finish, but who knows. But I'm staying away from that fight. If you want to sprinkle 3rd round submission, I don't hate that. One of the other fights that I did not talk about is the Belbita versus Barboza fight. Belbita is a total can. She's not very good. But then Barboza isn't a great wrestler. And her number one path to victory is going to be getting a takedown and getting a submission. I do lean Barboza to get a submission at a plus 110. But I did not use it as an official play. So those are and then the last fight I did not touch base on is Brad Tavares versus Gerald Meerschaert. Brad Tavares should win this by decision, but I'm not going to go against Gerald Meerschaert because he could very well get a submission. If you want to play it both ways, you can. Playing it both ways is a minus 245. You'd almost be better off playing them both as singles, and hope that Meerschaert gets the submission, because that's like a plus 400. So now I'm going to pull up my actual plays that I wrote down. It's the same ones I've already shown. It's just a little bit better this way. And you can see it a little bit better. And that is Luis Gurriel over 2.5 rounds, minus 118. Then I got Pat Sabatini, Joe Anderson Brito over 1/2 a round, but under 2.5 rounds at a minus 105. Then my parlay, my half unit plays are going to be Therese Finney, knockout, plus 165. Daniel Frunza, knockout, plus 185. Both half unit plays, like I said. And then I've got 2 different small parlays. I've got the Henry Flacco fight starting the third round. Romeos versus Lee over 1.5 rounds. And Emmett versus Murphy over 2.5 rounds. I've got like 2 units on this so far because I will definitely hedge if it gets to the last leg. This is how I do it. There's just too many injuries and too many freak things happen in the UFC. And then my third and final parlay, or my last parlay, is going to be Therese Finney, Leroy Murphy, and Luis Gurriel all on the money line plus 144. And once again, if it gets down to the Leroy Murphy play, you can feel free to hedge. You'd be able to hedge at a decent profit since he's a minus 300. So you could bet the other side at least a plus 200, if not higher. Those are my plays for UFC Fight Night, Murphy versus Emmett. If anyone has any questions about any other fight, please feel free to leave it in the comments. Or you can also look me up on Twitter at GipperPicks on Twitter. And then if anyone is a member of Sportsline, I'm also in the Sportsline Discord a lot. So hopefully everybody cashes some tickets with me. And everyone have a great night. Thank you.